Welcome back. It is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso on S3, and nothing classifies a room as unique and exceptional like a work of art. Not only does it personalize a space and invite conversation, it also emboldens the artists who dedicate their time and creativity to bringing their ideas to life. Githan Coopoo and Abdus Salaam are two of those artists who will feature their work proudly at this year's Investec Cape Town Art Fair, and they join us today to chat about what compels them to create. To the two of you, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Zoe. Thank you.
I believe you two actually met today for the first time. You don't know each other previously, so I thought this is a great opportunity for us to get to know each other a bit better. Abdus, let's start off with you. You're a self-taught artist in terms of discovering your passion. When did you realize, you know what, art is for me?
I was actually born on I was raised on a farm in Riversdale, and I spent most of my time out in nature and painting and playing with the clay by the pond where I spent most of my time. And then after that, I went to Waldorf School in Cape Town and Waldorf School in California, and then I pursued music for about 3 or 4 years in California, and then moved back to Cape Town and pursued visual arts. So I really feel as though I've been a visual artist and a musical artist my whole life, and I will continue to do so. But I think the first time that it was really justified was when I had my, my sold-out solo booth at the art fair last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And how did that feel when you had your first sold out at the art fair?
It was amazing. It was amazing. The art fair is really like a staple in the Cape Town, or really in the African art community. It's really the biggest event. The things that happened around Cape Town and around the entire event is just, yeah, it's such a big party, and so many amazing galleries come from all over the world, and it's, yeah.
That's incredible. Oh, amazing. And Githan, I love what you are wearing.
Oh,
your style is bold, and you've recently completed, or you studied at UCT, finishing your Bachelor's of Arts and History.
Yes.
And when did you decide, you know what, art is the direction I'm going to take my career in?
Probably only in the past 2 years. I initially actually kind of avoided taking on a career in physical art practice making or visual arts. So straight after university, I worked at the Zuid-Smoker as the assistant curator for costume and fashion. I was there for 2.5 years, and in that time, I really got to know the art community in Cape Town and South Africa by a larger degree very well. But I was always kind of on the penumbra and on the outskirts of the actual physical making. But I have had a jewelry practice for the past 5 years, and that kind of was my segue into making larger scale sculptural works, which is what I produce now today.
That is fantastic. I mean, you've brought one of your pieces along.
Yes.
Talk me through it.
Okay, so this is a handbag that I actually made for one of my friends for his birthday. So the text, which says "You are my favorite shade of blue," is just a kind of homage to his use of blue in his work. He's also an art practitioner. At the moment, I'm kind of working with 2 very specific forms in my sculptures. So they are handbags and vases.
Okay.
And this particular handbag is kind of the standard design in the likeness of an Hermes Kelly bag. So looking at luxury, looking at accessibility, and I mean the clay kind of facilitates a conversation about mythology overall.
Definitely so many meanings to it. It's beautiful, and I love that quote. You're my favorite shade of blue.
Yeah.
Now, I know everyone puts their unique touch on their artwork. Abdus, what is it for you? What makes your style of art or anything that you produce that much different?
In my practice, I really use light, contrast, and color in order to create this joyous, calm, uplifting sensation in the viewer. For the most part, my work is a synergy of mysticism and spirituality and natural beauty. So I'm very much inspired by the natural forms of trees and mountains and rivers and what makes this world as beautiful as it is, and also the things that are within us that make us as beautiful as we can be.
So if you connect a lot with nature, is that where you go and find your inspiration, or how would you say you
not
get
only
most
my
of your
inspiration,
inspiration?
but also my materials. Many of my paintings are actually made from foraged stones and natural materials. And then one of my other works is of a tree ring where I go into the forests and I find trees that have been cut down. I trace the trunk of the tree and I sort of allow that form to live on. So it's about what we leave behind, and it's also about the years we spend on this planet, which actually leads to the theme of the art fair this year, which is time. So, yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, we will unpack that theme a little bit more, and of course to hear what your exhibitions will be about. But stay tuned to your Feel Good Breakfast show. We have two fantastic artists in show, but I can guarantee you as we head to the kitchen, we'll be whipping up a masterpiece.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast show, Expresso on S3. Now, whether you express yourself via fashion, interior design, or both, Expresso has you covered. Now, we are back with Githan, Coopoo, and Abdus, Salaam, two inspirational local designers who are standing by to showcase their works ahead of their exhibitions at the Investec Cape Town Art Fair this month. It's taking place from the 17th to the 19th of Feb. And of course, the theme this year is the notion of time. And I think, you can touch on the past, the present, and the future. And I think I'm very intrigued to find out how the two of you have interpreted this year's theme. Abdus, let's start off with you.
Sure. So this year I'll be presenting two kinds of work. One are gemstone sculptures, and the other are my tree ring resin sculptures. And so both of them deal with time in a different way. The gemstone sculptures, of course, are literal time capsules in that they were extracted from the earth and made hundreds of millions of years ago. And so personally, my fascination with the material is just seeing all of the formations and how the colors mix into each other, and how I'm able to take this raw boulder and essentially turn it into something abstract and something that is intrinsically meaningful for whoever views it. So that time element is very much prevalent in those works. And then also the tree ring works that I make, as I said before, I trace the trunk of a tree that's been cut down to expose the tree rings.
Yeah.
And so what you're looking at is the actual formation of a tree that lived. And the work is about what we leave behind, but it's also about time, in that you're able to see every single individual tree ring, and as the tree was changed and formed over time, based on where the sun was and based on where the wind was, and whether it was on a hill or not, and all of these things. And so it's also a time capsule just as much as the gemstones are.
Definitely. Now, when you work with these tree trunks, what's the oldest you would guess you've worked with?
I think that there was one that was about this big, and it must have been between 160 to 190 years old.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, time is so precious, and it's so scary how the more things change, the more they stay the same over time. Now, Githan, I'm very intrigued with your exhibition. How did you interpret the theme, and what materials did you use?
Right, so I would probably preface that my practice is quite, I would say it's on kind of the other side of the spectrum compared to Abdus's, in that I work a lot with, as opposed to nature and natural elements, falsehood, notions of fake fashion and materialism and the man-made. So I'm currently in my work engaged with two specific forms, the clay vase, the classical Greek amphora, from the Hellenistic period, from ancient times, and then, as I brought in this morning, the contemporary handbag, and the kind of new age luxury good, the status symbol. Both kind of existed as status symbols in their times, and both existed as contemporary objects in their time. So this attempt to kind of look at vessels both past and present is something that I engage with in my work. For the art fair, for their 10-year anniversary, I'm going to be looking at 10 vases
Okay.
that I am producing for my solo booth, and I will, in that series, look at a kind of passage of time in relationships. Specifically, the catalyst for this body of work, the title for my show is Unrealistic Expectations, was my ending my relationship with my partner of 4 years, which was a long-distance relationship. The unrealistic expectation was that he and I thought we could foster a relationship between Cape Town and New York for the amount of time that we did.
Sure.
But it kind of has opened up a conversation about love, loss, remembrance, and facilitated a whole cyclical conversation in that way. The work is all predominantly made out of clay.
Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. Well, I love it. I know that here on this specific piece, you've written "You're my favorite shade of blue."
Yes.
Do you put slogans and things on your other clay pieces?
It's kind of my hallmark, yeah. So all of my pieces have text on them. It's also, again, it's a way to kind of communicate with the audience, to invite them in, to bridge the gap also with accessibility in art. I find that humor is such a fantastic tool to allow people to not feel there is a barrier or a knowledge break or gap or an intimidation. So, you know, things like contemporary culture, the zeitgeist, meme culture, Jodie Foster in Contact. These are all things that, you know, I like to reference and consider in my work and allow people to also imbue their own meanings onto. So I find language and text is a great communicative tool for that.
Well, listen, we can talk about this all day, but unfortunately, I cannot. So please head on over to the art fair that will be taking place the 17th to the 19th at the CTICC. The theme this year is the notion of time. Abdus as well as Githan will be there with their exhibition, so make sure you stay tuned. But of course, do go and support. It is a very important art fair.